many times have I said the words brutally murdered in these videos? Hello and welcome to Pink Paradox Reads. I'm Lisa, aka Pink Paradox. I read books, I watch horror movies, and I unbox stuff that has to do with books and horror movies. In this video, I'll be talking about mystery books that I've recently read. I'll also be introducing you to my plant family. Let's get into it. So this is going to be a video in two parts. First up, I will be talking about 5 books in the mystery, suspense, thriller genre that I've recently read. And after that, I'll do a little bit of a plant vlog. If you are not interested in plants, feel free to skip the rest of the video after I'm done with the books. If you're here only for the plants, there will be a timestamp in the comments so you can click directly to that. Let's get started with the books, and my first one is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This was one of the most anticipated releases in this genre this year. His debut novel, The Silent Patient, was a huge hit, and it still is. When I picked up The Maidens in my bookstore here in Bergen, the Norwegian paperback of The Silent Patient was actually their book of the month. I was not as taken with The Silent Patient as a lot of other readers were, but I wanted to give this second novel a try, and I'm really glad that I did. As in The Silent Patient, we start off in a therapeutic environment here. Our main character is Mariana, and she is a psychotherapist who has recently lost her husband in a tragic accident and is in grief. And this book is incredibly heavy, so I'm going to put it down. Mariana gets a call from her niece Zoe, who is going to university in Cambridge. Her best friend has been brutally murdered, and Mariana somewhat hesitantly decides to go to Cambridge to be with her niece. I say somewhat hesitantly because Cambridge is where she met her husband and fell in love with him, and because of that, she is scared that she is just going to make her grief even worse. She does go, and whilst there, she becomes determined to find out what happened to the murdered girl, and she is certain that a charismatic, suave university professor who surrounds himself with a group of female students who call themselves the Maidens has absolutely everything to do with it. This book read like a dream. The short chapters just flowed, and it has roots in your classic kind of mystery like Agatha Christie, and that was something I really appreciated. Of course, it has a twist because every thriller that's worth its while these days has to have a twist, I guess. There's also a need to suspend disbelief when you read this book, and I will have to say that that is true for pretty much every single book that I'm going to be talking about today. One little thing, the professor guy that Mariana suspects is behind the murder, he is supposed to be this suave, handsome fella, and while I was reading, I could only picture him as that guy from Nexium. Yeah. This was a great reading experience, perfect with a glass of wine and the summer sunshine. Next up is The Others by Sarah Blau, and this was the main book in the Abominable Book Club box for May. This is an author that I had never heard about before, and it turns out that this is her first book that has been translated into English. This takes place in Tel Aviv, and our main character is Sheila. She is a lecturer at a Bible museum. A horrible murder occurs, another one of those, with a woman being killed in a brutal fashion, the word mother carved into her forehead, and a baby doll glued to her hands. Then another similar grisly murder occurs, and it turns out that these women were part of a group who called themselves the Others while they were in university, a group that had sworn to remain child-free. And now it turns out Sheila is the only remaining live member of that group. I was not completely sure how I was going to like this book going into it. At first, I felt that it read more like contemporary fiction, which is something that I don't usually read. And pretty much every single character in this book was unlikable. That didn't seem to matter though. Somehow, as the story kept unfolding, I found myself enjoying it more and more, and I felt that it wrapped up really satisfyingly. Next up is a food-centric cozy mystery, and the cozy mystery is a genre that I am not very familiar with, but I was drawn in by the title and the awesome cover. This is Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. Leela is moving back to her hometown after a breakup, and she gets a job working for her tita or aunt. She has a restaurant, and Leela has a real passion for food, so she throws herself into her new job with gusto. That all comes to a screeching halt though when a food blogger, who just happens to be an ex of Leela's, falls dead face down into his plate of food at the restaurant. He has been poisoned, and all the evidence points towards the women working at Tita Rosie's kitchen. Now, the minute I started reading this book, I was automatically Googling recipes to try. There were mouth-watering descriptions of Filipino food, and there was also a very handy glossary in the book with Filipino foodstuffs and words and phrases for those not familiar. But then those food descriptions just started to become a bit too frequent. Don't get me wrong, I love food and I love seeing it incorporated into books, but here it just took over completely. The mystery was also not very mysterious. The characterization was lacking. There just didn't seem to be any real depth or feeling. The narrative felt very meandering and just went off in this direction and that. I really wanted to like Arsenic and Adobo, but unfortunately it was not for me. Here is a bit of a more traditional suspense thriller that I have been seeing around quite a lot. This is the Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. Set in the snow-clad Alps, in an old sanatorium turned into a luxury hotel, our main character is Elin, who is there to celebrate the engagement of her brother. This is a sibling that she has a very, very complicated relationship with. She is also on leave from her job as a police detective, and it's very obvious that this is a woman who has been going through quite a lot with traumatic experiences, both in her personal life and at work. Then people start disappearing from the hotel, and they're turning up dead in very strange fashions. And with the hotel being completely cut off from the outside world by a raging snowstorm, Elin decides to take the investigation into her own hands. This is a classic suspense novel with some fairly fresh and very terrifying imagery in it. It is initially a slow funicular ride up a very steep, very tall mountainside, with the story only really taking off about, I'd say, about halfway into the book. This book does become worth your reading time if you are willing to sit through that first half though, where I feel like nothing much happens. Yet again though, some suspension of disbelief is required. Lastly, the final book I want to talk about is Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. This is a book that has been getting lots of great reviews. I've been seeing it lots of places, and Taylor Adams also authored another really popular book called No Exit. This was my first book by this author. The plot outline of this one is fairly simple. Lena thinks her estranged twin Cambry's suicide sounds really suspicious. She wants to meet and confront the police officer who was the last person who spoke to Cambry on the titular bridge where Cambry ended her life. This book is quite an interesting piece of this genre in that it contains lots of action type sequences. There are lots of car chases and shootouts, and they do go on for quite a bit. In all honesty, I don't really want that kind of thing in a suspense thriller book. There was also a lot of flipping back and forth between different narratives, and I did find that quite confusing at times. I also felt that this book was a little bit too long. I felt like it would have been a lot more effective and tight as a novella, but ultimately this was a book that I kept coming back to, and I read it really quickly. I just didn't enjoy it quite as much as I hoped I would. So those were all the books that I read recently in the mystery genre. I have not been reading as much as usual, mostly because of the Euros singing for England. But now we've gone through that, I have this plant vlog coming up, and this is something that I have been working on for quite some time. There are multiple reasons why I have not done this or released this before. Physical reasons and technical reasons. The physical reasons is that I tripped and fell and fractured my foot. This is the same foot that I have a stress injury in, and that is the reason I have been on sick leave for 2 months now. So yeah, I have not been very mobile lately. I also had a bunch of technical difficulties. I did a voiceover for the vlog initially, and that was absolutely beyond crappy quality, so I had to do that over with alternative means. So I'm hoping that this vlog that I put together is coming across okay. I'm new to this whole vlogging thing, but I am really enjoying it, but my skills are raw, to say the least. I thought it would be fun to show you the houseplants that my partner Kay and I share a home with. I'll be starting off with the plants that we have in our living room and kitchen area, and then I'll be going outside to the balcony and show you the plants we have out there. Let's get started with this plant vlog. All right, let's start off with our orchids. We have 6 of them. This little guy right here has a new stem going, and this guy has a new leaf, and they're all really dusty. Yeah, we have 6 orchids. The oldest one turned 10 this year. I got him from Kay for my birthday in 2011. Here is a plant that in Norwegian is called a mother-in-law's tongue. I don't know the Latin name for it. To be completely honest with you, a lot of these plants, I only know like the colloquial Norwegian name for them. I don't know like the real name. So if you are a plant lover and you know the name of these plants, please let me know in the comments. Then we have this guy who is taking over. This is a monstera, also known as a Swiss cheese plant. And he's kind of spilling out everywhere. He should definitely get a bigger pot at some point. This is one of my favorite houseplants. They are really nice. Up here we have something called Scindaptus pictus. In Norwegian, this plant is called sølvranke or silver tendril. This is also a really beautiful plant, one of my favorites. I love that you can hang it up like this. Here we have a succulent. The Latin name for this is Kalanchoe, and apparently this is one of very many varieties of Kalanchoe. In Norway we call this ildtopp, or fire top, literally translated. This is a very sturdy plant. I got one of these from Kay when we first started seeing each other, and I kept it at my apartment, and I started spending less and less time in my apartment and more time at Kay's, but this little plant, he was completely fine on his own. So yeah, this is definitely a good plant to get if you are someone who's hasn't had much luck with houseplants. It does have some really pretty flowers on it too. Over here we got some stuff going from seeds. We've got a couple daturas. I've got a couple of those outside as well, so I'll talk about them more when we go outside. Here is a chili, and I think these are peas, sweet peas. Here is another succulent. I'm not gonna lie, I got this because I thought the little flower pot was really cute. We also have some cacti, which again I got because they were really cute. I actually got these for Halloween. They had little witches hats. They have grown a bit since then, and the witches hats don't fit them anymore. Here are some spring onions. Sometimes you just take the remaining bits of spring onion and you can put them in a pot and they grow up again. And this is a type of fir tree. Something that's become more and more popular here in Norway in recent years to get for Christmas. I see a lot of people get these and then they just abandon them when Christmas is over. We've had this one for 6 years now, I think. I think we got it for Christmas 5 years ago, so she'll be 6 this year. She looks pretty weird now, but I like her a lot. Then we have a cousin of the silver tendril that I showed you before. This one's called gold tendril. And see, he's making his way up, hoping he'll make it all the way up to the ceiling at some point. These are really, really great houseplants, and they are very easy to multiply. We have several of these that come originally from the same plant. Some more orchids. This one's got 10 flowers going at the moment, with an 11th on the way. There's another one. This is a type of spider plant, I think. It doesn't look like the typical spider plant that I've seen, but this is actually one that Kay traded for. Like, it's become more and more common to trade plants. It's become a very popular hobby for people. So here we got another one of those gold tendrils. Here we have another cacti, and he's grown really tall. Here is an aloe plant, aloe vera. We have several of these. Some of them are huge. Here's another succulent. I, once again, don't know what kind of succulent this is. I originally got this because, yes, you guessed it, the plant pot it came in was really cute. And here, oh, this is my boar Venus flytrap. She is, I'm guessing, 3 years old now, and she's been through a lot. Usually she makes it all the way through winter fine, but I think she had like a bit of a sunburn. She was in the kitchen window last week, and the sun was just burning her So a lot of the leaves went black. I'm really hoping that she'll make it through. She's got her little penguin friend there looking out for her. Now this is a Chinese money plant, and this is another one that Kay traded for, so it's pretty new. Same with this one. This is a spider plant that we're hoping is going to grow big. And now this guy. I originally thought that this was a yucca palm, but apparently it is not. It is what in Norwegian is called a dragon tree. I love the leaves on this one. They're really pretty. Another one of those gold tendrils. And this little guy we got from IKEA a few years ago, and he doesn't really like it here, so he's become smaller and smaller. This is a feather palm tree. And here you can see the monstera growing monstrous. They really do get really out of control if you give them enough space. They will take over your apartment for sure. Another one of those mother-in-law's tongues. Hoping that this will grow to become, well, maybe not huge, but big. And last we have this guy. This is a peace lily, which we got around the same time as the fir tree. So he'll be 6 years old as well. He is looking a little worse for wear at the moment. I just gave him some water. The great thing about peace lilies is that they really let you know when they're in need of more water. They do tend to look a little bit depressed, but he's gonna look a lot chirpier in just a little while. Now we're heading outside to our little balcony. This balcony becomes like an extension of our living room in the summertime, weather permitting, of course. This is Bergen after all. The plants we keep out here are mainly herbs and vegetables and flowers. We try to cultivate flowers that the bees really like, but some we want around just because they're really pretty and pleasant to surround ourselves with. Starting off with one of my favorites, this goes by the name fuchsia over here. It's a pretty sturdy plant and it's really, really pretty. I especially love this color combo. Down here on the table we have some herbs. Here is some oregano. And some thyme. And this little guy, poor thing, this is a lavender plant, which unfortunately is not thriving at all, which is such a shame. It smells gorgeous. I'm hoping we can revive it somehow. Here is some lemon balm, great in smoothies. And here is my sage plant. I was going to cut this down and make bundles for burning, but then it started blossoming and the bees really love the flowers. Down here are some flowers that Kay cultivated from seeds. These are also going to be bee friendly. And these flowers are called storkenebb in Norwegian, stork's beak. I don't know why, because they are not particularly storky or beaky. Here is a stalk of flowering kale. I'm keeping this up for now because, again, the bees really like it. But I will be cutting this down and putting something else here soon. More veg. Here we got tomatoes. And we got cucumber. He looks like he is in dire need of some water. And here we got beans. This is the first time we've tried to grow beans, so that's gonna be exciting. Spanish daisies. I get these every year because they are so pretty and colorful. And it looks like there is a cheeky sunflower in there as well. This one is really interesting. This is a succulent that we brought back from Kay's mom's place. Insects go absolutely crazy for the little yellow flowers that come on this. We found out later that it's actually an invasive species. Oops. But the bees, man, the bees love it. Here are some sunflowers planted by the birds. We feed the birds sunflower seeds every year. They make a mess, and sometimes the seeds end up flowering. Here are some dahlias. Absolutely love this color. Here's the datura. It has really beautiful white flowers that give way to these medieval looking, weapon looking like seed pods. They are very poisonous. This is a pimiento pepper plant. I hope we can manage to grow some pimientos this year because grilled pimientos is one of my favorite things in the whole world. Carnations, another bee favorite. Pansies, gotta have those. These spread really easily, and the colors, again, beautiful. There are some new ones popping up here, as well as some nigellas, also called Love in a Mist. We planted some years ago and they keep coming back. This is a clematis that comes from Greek, and the word literally means climbing plant. Ours is done blossoming for the season. It has little purple and blue flowers. More of those bee favorites. A rosehip bush, again planted by the birds. And here are some petunias, another summer staple. That's it for the little balcony tour. I really hope you enjoyed. So that's it for this reading wrap-up / plant vlog. If you enjoy bookish videos, the occasional vlog, unboxings, and horror movie talk, I hope you stick around and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.